मुलाकात होगी, वो आएगी ना?
आएगी.
Hi Sanam, this is Pramit from Digital Mafia Talkies, and I have to admit that I watched the trailer for Barzakh like multiple times since yesterday, and I'm equal parts confused and equal parts excited for what's going on in the show. So tell me a bit about your character and how does she factor into this seemingly surreal story?
That seems to be the general feedback that I'm getting. Like, it's so intriguing, but it's so confusing. My character is, without having to repeat the same words, but it's how I know how to explain it. She's the glue of the family. She is the messenger. She is the voice of reason. She is the one who is able to. She's the manager, the handler. She's also partly from this world, partly from that world. Therefore, she is the one that's really the medium and the connector. She absorbs people's problems. दूसरों का बोझ वो उठाती है, दूसरों के मसले हल वो करती है. खुद के जो मसले और जो बोझ है वो ज्यादा address नहीं होता. But I think the crux is if everyone else is around her is happy and at peace. For sure, you know, there are some people in life like that. Like, if everyone is happy, then they're at peace and their troubles go away. So Scheherezade is kind of like that.
And how were you approached for this role, and what was the process of getting into the skin of this character?
I've known Asim now for about, I want to say almost 10 years, 8, 9, 10 years, can't remember, 9 years for sure. And I did Cake with him, and I worked with him on a few scripts, and I love his style of writing. I love his dynamics between family members, the way he portrays them. He really goes in depth. It gives me a chance to do something new every time. He pushes boundaries. So and we have a good actor-director working relationship where we trust each other. So I'll always get a call. So I got a call for this. And I read it. I loved it. I said, I'm in.
And Asim has said that this is a very personal story for him. So how did you, were you mindful of that fact, and how did you kind of find yourself in his vision?
I guess we were all curious because we've all lost people close to us. So we've all lost a parent, or if not a parent, someone very close to us. And we all wonder where those souls go. If we can ever communicate with them, will we ever see them in a dream? Will we ever feel their presence in some form or the other? Because you want to be able to connect with the ones that you have lost. You know, it's sad to think that this is it. When they pass away or they transition into the other realm or the other world, कि बस जो इस दुनिया में मुलाकात थी उसके बाद और कोई मुलाकात नहीं होगी. So keeping that ख्वाहिश in mind, I think we all, particularly myself, really approached it like, yeah, I feel you. I also question this. I also wonder what it would be like. And I think it's really interesting that we're showing this. And I'm sure a lot of people would also want to connect with the ones that have passed away. And so when you keep these things in mind, I think you approach work with a certain sensitivity. And I know that he was very close to his parents, and after he lost his father, I knew that this was a difficult time, but it's such a beautiful way to express how he was feeling and what he was going through his writing and then filmmaking.
And it seems to be dealing with a lot of supernatural aspects. So during the course of the show, did your opinions about what is natural, what is supernatural, what is mortality, did these opinions change or evolve in any way?
I think we were already on the same page in terms of, is there an afterlife? And like I said earlier, okay, will we ever meet? Kabhi mulaqat hogi. So ये हालात हम सब के थे. At least मैं भी उसी wavelength पे हूँ. Maybe it just strengthened the idea of, yeah, maybe one day we can meet. You know, maybe one day I can meet my mother or my friends or cousins or relatives or grandparents that have left this world. And that was just an interesting, but yes, eerie thought. You know, in Barzakh, there's a lunar eclipse that happens. So, you know, again, the power of the moon and eclipses have the energy does shift on Earth. And so there are all these possibilities. So I think if you're a skeptic, it might be hard to dive into a role like this or a show like this. But if you're already kind of on those lines, a believer like that, or curious about these things, then it's definitely a show for you.
And by the way, like the whole aesthetic of the show looks very wintry and very aesthetically pleasing. But was the shooting process as comfortable in the cold, or like were you praying that did you get more scenes in the indoors?
Oh yeah, we were praying that we got more scenes indoors because it was freezing. In fact, I was just on set here in Karachi 3-4 days ago, and it is 42, 43, feels like 50 almost. Very humid. Like dimag nahi chalta. And I was shooting here, and I remember shooting there. And when we were shooting the cold, I asked the team, I was like, guys, remember in August when you guys were shooting for another thing? 2 extreme weathers, which one do you pick? And they still picked the cold because at least makeup doesn't melt and hair doesn't putto, and they can, the camera team can keep wrapping up in shawls and angitis. Us actors are dying our brain, so our brain doesn't work in extreme heat or extreme cold. But I will say extreme cold is better because at least hair and makeup stays in place, like it stays perfect. But in terms of like learning lines and trying to be calm was very difficult because you are tittering. Like my nails would go blue, steam would be coming out of our mouth, and it was just like, and you get so tired because your body's trying to keep warm, it fatigues you. So, but most of our scenes were outdoors because you kind of need, and then there was one scene that we shot in front of Rakaposhi, which was white, and they were night scenes. So yeah, we went through a lot of hardships, a lot of extreme weather, but we all braved through it and pushed through it because we could see the beauty in the shots. We could see the magnitude of the frames of like these magnanimous mountains and nature around you. So we knew the power of what we were creating, or at least we didn't know it, we felt it. Screen pe us tarah translate ho na ho, I don't know, but it was, it's such a humbling experience to be around mountains.
And I think you have been asked this question by now hundreds of times, but what was your reunion with Fawad like? Like, did you surprise each other with the skill set you have acquired over the years in any scene?
For sure, we did, yes, because it had been 10 years or 11 years. Always a pleasure and a treat to work with Fawad because he really takes his work seriously. And I really appreciate the trust that we have with each other. It's an unsaid trust. Like, I trust whatever he is going to throw at me will be something that I can work with and that will be better for both of us. And I think he trusts me in the same way. And it was completely different, our dynamic in this. So it was really refreshing and really nice to see both of us bring all our other skill sets over the years and grow in maturity and age and all of that, and then bring this a completely different new flavor to our performances.
And were fan expectations something that you had to be mindful of, or did you actively ignore like the fan service aspect of it so that the story can bloom or flourish?
When reading the script, I was like, oh, acha. 10 saal baad aur is tarah theek hai. So I think from the get-go, I was like, fans will have all kinds of opinions and they will be very excited to see us together. But I keep wanting to remind fans and people that at the end of the day, we are actors and we're more than just a hero-heroine that come together all the time. All the time. Ek hi dafa hai, but it's enough to be like all the time. So to appreciate and be open to welcoming us as performers generally in whatever roles we take.
And based on the trailer, you also have a lot of scenes with Salman Saeed. So what was your experience working with him?
It was a treat and a real honor to work with such a seasoned, experienced, professional actor. I think this is such an amazing comeback to me. He's very active. He's been acting for decades. But this really makes Salman Saeed shine. It shows his experience. It shows his stamina. He wouldn't take anyone's hand. He's 70 plus. He wouldn't hold anyone's hand when going up the mountains. He never forgot his lines. He had long monologues. He would just come with so much energy. And it was really like, we were so grateful that we were in his presence and that I got to share the screen so much with him. because he's unbelievably talented.
And in 2024, you're all with Umro Ayar and with Barzakh, you were kind of shifting away from, let's say, grounded roles which were not shrouded in mystery and sci-fi. So is that like a conscious decision on your part, or is that like dependent on audience taste and industry-wide change?
No, not a conscious decision at all. It's just it's just so happened to be like that. I shot Umro Yaar and then I shot Barzakh 2 months later. I think COVID में बहुत सारे writers और creators के दिमाग shift करने लगे, बदलने लगे, questioning life and the afterlife, and because there was so much trauma and death around us that it made us all think, is this it? What is after this? So I think maybe because of that COVID shift, writers and creators were developing things that were, you had to shake things up. Life was shaken up so violently that I think in our creative processes also that shift was coming. So it was just a natural progression.
And do you have like any favorite like genres and subgenres that you haven't yet explored that you want to explore in the near future?
Well, sci-fi was it's not a genre that I would run to when I'm choosing a show, but it's definitely something, an action and green screen and chroma, VFX. This is something I definitely was curious about. I didn't know how, if it would ever happen, and it did. So that is one thing I would have probably never dabbled with or in, but I'm glad that wo hua. Yeah, I guess there's a black comedy. I've done a lot of that on stage, but I would like to do that in film or on screen. Haven't explored too much romance. Maybe a really, really nice romantic drama would also be nice, other than Zindagi Gulzar Hai. Biopics, I would say I'd love to do a biopic on who, I don't know, but I think it's really interesting to be able to have a real life figure who's either living or has passed, but a reference point to completely emulate that person would be interesting.
And my final question to you is like, what are some of the thoughts and opinions that you want fans to walk away with after watching Barzakh?
Ooh, I would really enjoy hearing their opinion on how it made them ponder over life, over what they think is meaningful, what their takeaway from life will be, and to kind of dig deeper than just vibrating and living on the surface, but kind of really dig deep into your intuition, into your family bonds, into working on your life here so that your whatever energy is transferred into the other world, that's what we take with us. So it's kind of like I want them to ponder over a lot of ideas. I want them to really feel connected to the different kinds of love between humans, whether they're lovers or their brothers or their brother and sister or their father and son or their, gaon ke log. There's just this human connection. And Barzakh really explores a lot of different dynamics of love. So it would be interesting that people really felt that and questioned it and questioned their own interpretation and perspective on love.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for the show and I really wish the best for you. And my mom is actually a huge fan of your work. She has been watching Zindagi Gulzar Hai, like binging all your shows. And she's also really excited for this. So all the best to you and your team.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My love to your mother.